This program is designed to provide general information with regards to the subject matters covered. This information is given with the understanding that neither the hosts, guests, sponsors, or station are engaged in rendering any specific and personal, medical, financial, legal, counseling, professional service, or any advice. You should seek the services of competent professionals before applying or trying any suggested ideas.
Good morning, true seekers and true crime junkies. Welcome back to another episode of Hit the Road Jack, Finding the Zodiac. I'd like to welcome to the show today, Nolan Del Campo.
Good morning, everybody.
Good morning. How's your week been?
It's been good.
Yeah?
I had crazy. Federal court at Homeland Security yesterday. That was
Ooh.
It was harsh. I didn't like it.
Was there all kinds of protocols to get in?
No, it was relatively easy to get in, but it just took forever, and the way they act so uppity.
Hoity-toity.
And just everyone. No one's friendly. The judge, Nobody's friendly. The building is so sterile, too.
What a miserable existence.
Yeah.
Yeah, not for me, thank you. This is why I didn't go into government work.
Yeah, I think I'm going to get out of the case.
Yeah, so, what's it about? Can you tell?
It's removal proceedings, and she's applying for asylum, but she doesn't qualify for asylum. So anyway, a paralegal brought me in because they needed a lawyer, but I haven't signed an agreement. I haven't entered actually officially into the case. I'm in a special appearance. So
does she know what's going on right now with deportations?
Yeah,
now would not be the right time to apply for something you don't qualify for.
Yeah, no, they want to send her to Honduras or some other Central American country. She's from Guatemala.
Tell her to wait until Newsom takes office for presidency.
Well, yeah, we'll see. Anyway.
Wrong president, wrong time frame.
Yeah.
All right. Well, last week we left off. We were talking about another fake suspect that emanated in December of 2025 by a gentleman named Alex Baber. And of course, I had explained to everybody we came upon some extremely interesting information from Sandy Betts, because Sandy Betts, who's been a longtime Zodiac researcher and believes that she's been stalked by the Zodiac or maybe one of the group kind of thing, has had experiences with Alex Baber in the past, and he was the person who had ultimately turned over her handwriting that she believed came from the Zodiac suspect to the Baggetts, who then claimed that it was the Zodiac's handwriting. However, they have all gone on to suggest other people, and I got more information from Sandy this last week in regards to Baber's claims. And so last week, when I was going through the messages I found online in regards to the interviews that Baber was doing, I opted out from reading them just because it seemed silly. I didn't want to go into his background and all of that good stuff. But after reading what Sandy has put forth, I think we're going to go ahead and visit some of the words, because you're going to find them extremely close. Now, Sandy was not aware that he came out with this new suspect, so this was news to her. And what she's telling me, and I didn't even realize that we were talking about the same person, or that she should be aware that he has come out with Marvin Margolis, because I did not know that the person who turned her handwriting over was, in fact, Alex Baber. So this is a continued email that we are having back and forth. And she says, yes, I have known Alex Baber and his now ex-wife, Jalen, for several years. They contacted me over 20 years ago about a suspect I was told was my stalker, who was Larry Kane. The picture I took of the man who had been stalking me in Vallejo 1969, I was told by Vallejo's chief of police and by Darlene Farron's family members his name was Larry Kane. So I spent 10 years investigating Kane. That was why Alex contacted me, because he had Kane as his suspect. So he was the other false suspect for Babber, was Lawrence Kane, because he had Kane as his suspect and wanted my information on him. And yes, it was Alex who paid Kurt Baggett to look at the letter that was left for me. I asked him to please give me a copy of the document from Baggett. I'm assuming she means the opinion letter, in which case Baggett had stated that it was in fact Zodiac writing, because I wanted to take that to the FBI and show it to them. He still hasn't sent it to me. When I saw he is now claiming Zodiac and the Black Dahlia Killer are the same person, I about fell out of my chair. Alex stated he received a phone call from Margolis in 2007, stating Margolis asked him if he wanted to play a game and gave him credit for solving the My Name cipher. What Alex had forgotten, he phoned me in 2007 to tell me that the caller was Larry Kane, but he never mentioned about any cipher. So he's just claiming that he stumbled onto Lawrence Kane and received this taunting phone call. She says, I contacted all the people who were helping him with his lie, as well as the producers of his upcoming TV show. So this guy's media deep, just like Baggett. I let them know he lied about the 2007 phone call and that they needed to fact check everything Alex told them. I'm pretty sure they told him what I had to say about the 2007 phone call. It wasn't until Kane had died and my suspect was still following me that I knew Kane was not my stalker. I do plan to contact the FBI as soon as I have all of my ducks in a row. Last month on December 1st, 2025, I got another death threat from my suspect, which tells me he is still alive. I am sleeping with my gun next to me. Oh, bless her heart.
Wow.
Yeah, and she does go on, because I did ask her what the threat was. So we're going to get into that in her next email. So we basically had an exchange there. We know that Kane, yes, died before 2007. Marvin Margolis, now you guys, died in 1993. So I think even earlier, or maybe they died approximately or around the same time. Either way, Babber is claiming to have received a phone call from the person saying, you cracked the cipher, you figured me out, kind of thing, want to play a game, blah, blah, blah. We're going to get into his words. Anyways, let's welcome Lindsay Mack to the show. Good morning.
Hi, Lindsay. You need your audio.
All right. Well, we'll wait till she chimes in. So this second email from Sandra, when it was in response to me saying that, are you there?
I think that's her.
Yep. I hear her. Now she's out again. We've lost her. So I basically responded back to that email, indicated that Marvin Margolis had died in 1993, so it was impossible for him to have made that call as well. So his entire statement about, oh, you figured me out, solving my cipher, if you will. So Sandy goes on to say, Alex must have sent the letter to Baggett about 20 years ago. Yes, I mentioned that death in 1993 to the producers. They don't seem to care about the facts. Ding, 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 right? That's, I think, 90% of my show is about how the media is yellow journalism. They're not presenting the facts. They're narrating what they want us to hear and see. And now Alex Babber is a prime instance, I believe, of that Project Mockingbird, if you will. Says, they don't seem to care about the facts. Alex belongs to Mensa. Most geniuses lack having common sense. He is proof of that. Laugh out loud. The threat was something that most wouldn't consider to be a threat. He plays music for me from time to time, and in the lyrics are a message for me. He used to play Sonny and Cher's I Got You, Babe. That one I understood. And also, every day I get the blues. I know Zodiac has some depression. Now, I might want to, I don't see any depression in the Zodiac's writing. I see mania. I see disturbances. I see lots of things, but I don't see depression. Let's see here. But the latest song didn't have lyrics. I knew it was classical music, and I thought it was by Chopin. I asked my son if I could use AI to find the name, and that is what I did. It was the Minute Waltz. I found Barbra Streisand had it on one of her albums. The lyrics were about time, a very short time, and Zodiac is into time. I didn't report that one to the police because they would not understand that being a threat. She said, my ex-husband died a few months ago. I'm hoping his wife will let me have the boxes he found of mine, which is something she's told me for quite some time, is that she had placed the hood in one of these boxes. But I have conflicting stories, because first there were stories she threw it away because she didn't know what it was. And I was under the impression it was a black painted paper sack, which is what I was under the impression she had claimed it was, and that she threw it away because it smelled horribly and she didn't know where it came from. Now, she is indicating, or she has also told me she had other evidence in boxes that were at either her ex-husband's mother's house or someplace where she was not able to retrieve them because the new wife was not allowing them to talk or communicate. So she says, my ex-husband died a few months ago. I'm hoping his wife will let me have the boxes he found of mine that were hidden in his mother's attic. When I find the killing costume, the family car in Napa, a day after the Lake Berryessa stabbings. I thought it was an early Halloween costume, and being sewing is one of my hobbies, I added it to one of my material boxes. Makes it sound like it's material, but I remember her talking about the strong smell of paint. She says, my ex recognized the boxes and stored them at his home, along with many other boxes his mother had saved over the years. His wife didn't let him bring them to me, but now perhaps she will let me go to her home and get them. She is still mourning his unexpected death, so I'm waiting again. So she believes that she might have some evidence that would link back to these Zodiac cases, and that she is still being taunted at this point. But I mean, honestly speaking, if the Zodiac was, let's take the time frame that they indicated in the composite, which I believe was somewhere between 35 and 45. And let's now add another 55 years to that. It's highly improbable that that same person who committed those crimes would be alive now.
Oh, no, that person's dead.
Right. So why she is still receiving, I think it's other people. It's some of these trolls having fun with her.
I think so too. They have her on a hook and they're playing with her catch.
Right. Right. And they think it's funny to get her all up in an uproar and get her spouting about, new stuff.
It's terrible though, happening. It's real to her, sleeping with a gun.
Yeah, it's very real to her. And that's very sad for these people.
And I like her as a person. I remember when we went and met her and talked to her. I took everything she said with a grain of salt, but I think she's a good person. She means well.
Yeah, no, she's a sweetheart. And again, sometimes some of her stuff is so collectively put together so well, but that may be from years of repeating it, right? She's conditioned herself to it being whatever it is, and she knows it well.
Right.
Versus
doing this, whether it's one person or a group of people, they are trying to convince her that they may have been Zodiac.
Right. So she keeps following
the twine. Remember, she showed us that white twine that was left on her doorstep and things like that.
That clothesline. Why did it not go back up? If half of it went down, I mean, did you think at the time that was the Zodiac doing it? And I want to say this is in the maybe she's claiming 60s when her son was a baby and she was still hanging diapers out to dry, and the line that went missing, I'm trying to recall her email right now, but the line that was missing from her laundry lines was just a portion. They didn't take all of it because there were diapers hanging from some of it. So they took some of it and then supposedly dropped off this brand new packaging of clothesline, which clothesline, I mean, obviously modern day clotheslines are a bit different from those back then. It was a hollow cord. Now we have the fiber filaments on the inside for strength to help it hold together a little bit better. But she's convinced that the Zodiac was attempting to frame her husband, which I have not responded to that email yet. So I do want to get into that with her and why she suspects they would attempt to, for any reason, frame her husband, because I didn't know that was a thing. I thought this entire time they were stalking her because she had knowledge of Darlene Ferrin. Not
right. Yeah. And she lives in Zodiac Central too.
Antioch,
the base of Mount Diablo, basically.
Correct.
And she spent a lot of time in Vallejo.
Yes. She's from the Napa area.
Where I don't know if it's when Darlene Ferrin worked, but some guy kind of stalking her there at that restaurant.
Right. And I had, for some reason, put the two together thinking that both of them had worked for the Coronado, but now, and I think that was a bar or restaurant or something like that back in the day. Now I'm starting to wonder because she said she never worked with Darlene. She just knew of her because I think she had stated she was dating a cop at the time, which doesn't make any sense to me because if she's married with kids during this time frame, what is she doing dating a cop that had also dated Darlene? There was I don't know. I can't keep it all together. There's too much.
Yeah. Well, that cop was getting around.
Right,
definitely plausible for them to cause confusion.
Well, 100%. Yes. Good morning, Lindsay.
Good morning.
We are back to Marvin Margolis, and we just covered the Alex Babber content from Sandy Betts, in which case she fully explained it was 20 years ago that the phone call he gave her saying that Lawrence Kane was her man and that he received this taunting phone call that we are now going to hear a repeat of. You guys are going to love this. So I have decided to go back and actually read the stuff I skipped last week because I thought it was, nonsensical. But now, after hearing from Sandy, I want everybody to hear what Alex himself had to say. So it says, here's some more details from 2022 about the time the guy first cracked the cipher. So evidently he's claiming to have cracked it in 2022, at least based on the message boards, whereas it sounds like December 25 release was like it was brand new, like it just happened. So I'm not sure. It says on February 2nd, Crime HQ hosted a special event with Alex Babber and Jalen Babber of the Cold Case Consultants of America, led by Kelly McClear. Cold Case Consultants. Now, this takes me to John Walsh. This takes me to Tim Miller. What is this person doing in this group, right?
Alex Babber is now dinging a light bulb. It wasn't registering last week, but like this week, why is it? It's like ringing a light bulb this week for some reason. I'm like,
because
he covered something else too.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, well, and that's kind of like Deborah Perez, being the false suspect's daughter of Bart Baggett, where she the year before was on message boards saying she was the love child of JFK and Marilyn Monroe. Like these people don't keep
all over the news.
So, are you saying JFK is the Zodiac? Again, it's a bit much for me to try and keep together, but I know when I'm being fed some BS, and that's definitely some BS. So it goes on to say McClear began by asking the couple to share their backstories. Alex said that it started for him when he was a child growing up, surrounded by his mother's true crime magazines. As he got older and was diagnosed with a neurodiversity, a form of autism, his IQ was tested and was in the 160s when he was a teenager. This focus and intelligence came with a downside, though. I typically do not sleep much. My brain is always processing information like a computer. Alex said he befriended members of law enforcement who urged him to join the fight because of his specific abilities. He declined repeatedly, choosing to focus on his family, but finally got involved in March of 2007. What drew him in was David Fincher's Zodiac movie, although Alex had not known anything about the case before then. Okay. That evening of Friday, he decided to take a crack. Now, I want you guys to keep this time frame in mind as I go through this, because this to me just it's awe-shocking. That evening of Friday.
George Bush Jr.'s error.
What's that?
So what I always do, like when I hear dates.
Okay, let's not segue to realm. Let's not segue to Bush right now. I want to stay stuck on this because I need to make it through it. It says that evening, a Friday, he decided to take a crack at solving one of the infamous ciphers associated with the case. Allen claims that he solved it that evening in 4,527 attempts.
Oh, yeah. I think you read that last week. Yeah.
No. Well, I might have touched on it, but I did not go into what he's going to say next. His solution gave him a name. Next, he went online to a forum devoted to the Zodiac Killer and posted the name he came up with. So he's literally saying in one night he came up with a name and that he cracked it. And then this is not making sense with the other evidence that was explained earlier. It says on Sunday he received a phone call. So now here's this phone call, guys. And so this was 2022. Okay, so from the first time. So 2022 is when he received this phone call, or at least he's stating here. Next he went online to a forum devoted to the Zodiac Killer and posted the name he came up with on Sunday. So 2 days later, he received a phone call asking, "Do you want to play a game?" After Alex replied no, the speaker said, "I want to compliment you on cracking my cipher." A little shocked and freaked out at this point, especially because he didn't know how the caller got his number, Alex said that he didn't want any trouble and volunteered to remove the post from the forum that mentioned the man's name. The caller then went to prove that he knew Alex's full name, place of work address, and fiance's full name. At that point, Alex said he'd take the post down and hung up on the caller. So if in 2022 he got this phone call from "You cracked my cipher," would that not indicate that the Zodiac is still alive and his false suspect, Marvin Margolis, who died in 1993, is not the person he's claiming it to be?
Correct.
Yeah, but I don't think Margolis is the Zodiac, and I don't think this other person is either.
No, and we're going to continue with some of Margolis's writings here in a minute, and you guys will all get to see that.
By 2022, the person or people that were doing the Zodiac murders probably dead.
Right. Yeah, good possibility at 80, 90 something years old. I mean,
yeah, you have to be 90 some years old. Yeah.
So a couple responses on Reddit was Lord Haha, this person, I love their names. No, it is rubbish. I'm very familiar with the cryptography and have studied that at a high level. It's pseudoscientific nonsense, and there's no way to extrapolate any useful information from Z13. Lord Haha went on to say, "Could you share where he describes his method? I would be happy to do a more detailed post explaining why it's rubbish, as I'm not expecting you to just take my word for it." I like that guy, because that's what I tell people. I want to show you. I don't want you to just take my word for it. Happy to get into detail if his method is published. If it is not published, well, then there you go. And then baseball cap safety. What if you already have the key, as in Zodiac? And we're going to get to that because we just mentioned this like before coming on the show. There are others that it says, okay, LA Times. Nope. Okay. So all of the rest of this was just more or less somebody, saying that it is not possible, that I've tried to tell people that it's possible that they already have the key, but just don't realize it. I assume that's what you're saying. So I do go back to someone has to have the key. That means that these communications were intentional and meant to be sent to somebody who had the key and could figure them out. And that brings us back into the circle of media, John Wall. Got myself back going. I'm hearing myself talk.
Yeah, I hear.
It's an echo.
I'm echoing too.
I think that might be something with Lindsay. Oh, yep, there it went. But I don't want you to go away, Lindsay, because I'm about to talk about something I need you for. Oh, well, then she comes on and then. Oh, it's gone. Are you there, Lindsay? Oh, it's not going. All right, I'm going to try and make this quick. Oh, she's gone and out. I received a message from Megan Walsh on YouTube, and that is John Walsh's daughter that Lindsay Mack works with in researching her Megan Walsh's father's case. So she sent me Mary Carter Paint Company, John Walsh, and the Callahan name, upstate New York, and the Finger Lakes. And of course, I was hoping that Lindsay would be here to explain that, because she did respond back to me, but she was showing me how I believe O'Toole. I'm trying to remember his name now. He was part of the Henry Lee Lucas and I can't recall his first name. That's going to happen because I don't believe any instance whatsoever. He was one of the people that was suspected as a suspect in John Walsh's son's death. And we know that he was just too dumb to have done anything. But let's see. And then she sent me this interesting screenshot of somebody's response that says, I don't give a, F about Jake Lang. He works for the same people who the Shah of Iran warned us about in the 70s. What seemed insane doesn't seem so insane anymore if you pay attention. But hey, I'm just a conspiracy theorist. What do I know? Anyways, here are the receipts. And I'm assuming that that link would take you to information or whatever it was he was attempting to prove on this particular message. And now that I don't have Lindsay, I can't have her to explain it.
What did the show warn us about?
No, I think we were warned. So same people who the Shah of Iran warned us about. So
all right.
I know. That's why I was hoping she didn't fall out like she did, but she did. Another comment was Tuto Taban. I don't know how to say that. Says something I'd never noticed before. In the San Francisco composite sketch, the Zodiac suspect has a closed up left eye in relation to his right eye. And of course, we talked about that because we barely hit on it in the middle of these here. So yes, there was this in the composite, this left eye, that was more closed up than the right eye. And we can see that that is definitely the way Jack's looks. So we have that one eye that is lazier, maybe more closed up than the right eye. Lindsay, did you hear what I said about those posts?
No, girl. I think that they are onto me or something because I've been onto some big stuff lately. So they're probably, I don't know what they're doing.
Messing with you. Messing with you. Okay, so Mary Carter Paint Company, John Walsh, and the Callahan name, upstate New York and Finger Lakes. Can you explain that for us?
Okay, so the Finger Lakes is New York, is where I was in the what do you call it, that black book that came out about Hunter Biden. This is like the newest stuff about Finger Lakes. There was a lot of prostitution that he was involved in the Finger Lakes area of New York, and also just so happens to be that it was John Walsh's Roman range before he went to Florida and has been there ever since, and that was like in 1963, I think. So,
and then the Mary Carter Paint Company.
So the Mary Carter Paint Company, it actually was Otis Toole's place of work prior to Adam's disappearance, and he had left there the last job he did for them was 3 days before or so, and that company is mentioned in John Walsh's book.
The Mary Carter Paint Company. Yeah. Ironically. And Callahan, I feel like we've heard that name before, obviously, talking about
Callahan
John Walsh.
is John Walsh's mother's maiden name. So the middle brother, so the son that was born after Megan, they named him Callahan. So that's where Callahan comes from. Yeah.
Okay. Now, you sent me this post from Ian, something about Jake Lang, works for the same people who the Shah of Iran warned us about in the 70s. What was that about?
It was a link. Did you see the
link? It did. It had some pictures, but I didn't click on the link. I'm link hesitant. I like my computers right where they're at and not freezing up, breaking down, and losing all my information. So I very rarely click on the link.
So he was the one that was involved with the Jewish mob, and it's actually still an unsolved murder.
Jake Lang?
Is that the one?
It's somebody. It's a poster named Ian, and he says, "I don't give a f about Jake Lang. He works for the same people who the Shah of Iran warned us about in the 70s. What seemed insane doesn't seem so insane anymore if you pay attention. But hey, I'm just a conspiracy theorist. What do I know? Anyway, here are the receipts." And it looks like
it's vague. What does he say?
I have no idea.
I think it was a thread. So maybe you didn't get the rest of the thread. Yeah.
Maybe I did. Well, I just had that clipped picture inside your email. Yeah. Okay, so other YouTube comments we have got Jacob Schulte 7907 saying, "What are you guys trying to say? Does anyone have any actual evidence for Jack Terrence?" All right, guy. I don't even know what to say to you, but go back and go back and watch the episodes because the evidence is very large and tangible. He then says, Jack Terrence is 12 characters. What's your point? And then laughing emoticon. And yes, if you're to presume that the author of Z13 only put in a first and a last name, could you make that statement? But to be so ignorant as to not take note that if a person uses their middle initial, that they might have used their middle initial in that solve as well, would be to slight the entire process. Because if the individual wants to put his name out there, but in, quite frankly, an undecipherable cipher, the easiest way he's going to use every little bit of it, I would think, because he knows you're not going to solve it to begin with. I mean, that's kind of the taunt of the Zodiac, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So I went back to pull all of Jack's information leading up to before he actually began using Jack or John. So we do see that his dad was born John Walker Terrence. We do see that Jack is listed as a junior, but has notoriously gone by Jack for most of his life. And he has used and flipped around John and different variations of his mother's maiden name. I mean, he's used so many different aliases, it's unreal. But what I want everybody to pay attention to is that he claims to have been born, which I would assume his dad was too, but his dad is now known as John when he comes to fruition. But the J and the W in quotes. So not J period or W period, which would indicate that J was just the beginning initial of a name. He puts it in quotes. They go on in his military records to continue this fashion of J in quotes, W in quotes, Terrence. His discharge papers in, what's my year here, 1947, again, J in quotes, W in quotes, Terrence Jr.
That's odd.
Well, that's the way he would, I think Terry B had said it, that it gives it a null when you're trying to search for information and it is just something like J.W. Terrence. It's like Letha Self, her last name being Self, S-E-L-F, as in Frank. It is a null in the search systems because it's not going to produce any information, basically. And that's exactly what we see again in another honorable discharge in 1950. So another 3 years after the last discharge, we see again J.W. Terrence Jr. On his actual enlisted records report.
I've seen the junior one.
W. What do you mean? Well, that might be information we're putting out there that is causing that to pick up, right? But again, JW is how he's listed on his military records. If this man actually had a real name, that would be produced on the military records. I would put money on it. They're not going to use your nickname or your acronyms. Yeah, this is just not what's going to happen. We see here at the bottom underneath his thumbprint, which I always thought was a relatively good thumbprint for authorities to use if they wanted to try and make a match with any fingerprints that were found at the Zodiac crime scene or other crimes that we talk about. But look at underneath here. He signs it, J.W. Terrence Jr. So he still at this point is still J-Dub. That's what I like to call him, J-Dub.
Yeah.
So there's the answer. Basically, if you take Jack or John, W. Terrence, you have 13 characters. But you can't omit the W just because you want to try and say, oh, well, we can exclude him because it's not 13 characters. Not if you drop the W.
Yeah.
And you are not the person.
Include the W. Maybe one of the characters in the cipher was just a placeholder.
That could be another option as well, but I want to roll with the whole.
Yeah.
I mean, especially when we start to look at some of these ciphers.
Well, and I will vouch for what Nolan just said, because like it's like, for an example, if you're looking at gematria, I don't know if you know about gematria, but I've researched it since like 2016. And if there's a 0, it doesn't count towards the total number. So like when you're adding the numbers for a word, because each letter
0
means
is
a number.
A void. It's a space.
Yeah, it cancels out. Like it doesn't matter. It's just not there. So
yeah, and we're gonna see
great
that.
Point, Nolan.
Thank you.
Yeah. So moving on to another piece of news, I just had to clip this out and put it in. But of course, this all this rage over the ICE and enforcing deportation and citizenship and the things like you're going through there in Homeland Security, Nolan. I saw this clip and I actually watched it. And what really got me, so the headline of it is Lydia Moynihan says Obama gave Tom Homan, he's the head of ICE, a medal and attacked Bush for being lax on immigration. Now, when did the left suddenly decide that immigration laws don't need to be enforced and that going after ICE officers doing their job was the answer? So I thought that was interesting. And you're right. You've got Obama on one side as a Democrat in wanting to enforce it, praising the head of ICE, bashing Bush, who's a Republican, for being too lax on immigration. And now we've got all of the Democrats that are just completely against the Trump administration for wanting to enforce these rules. We've got cities and states attacking officers, trying to push them out, making their jobs extremely complicated, and I'm sure heightening the severity of their anxiety and stress over what it is that they have to do because they don't know what's coming at them from one moment to the next. And
well,
I think
I'll tell you this. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that Obama has actually deported more than Trump has so far.
I think so too. I think that was kind of the notion that he was hard on. It's okay for him to do it, but gosh forbid, that Trump does it. But what I picked up from,
and it's because they control both sides.
Right, and 100%. And what I picked up from this particular clip when I was listening to her speak is that right at the end, she said the fake news is what's causing basically all of this stuff. Yes, it's causing protesting. It's causing people to fight against one another. It's causing people to take sides. But it, again, is fake news. So we just got done with Alex Faber and his fake news. But let's climb right back into Margolis now. So we touched on
Well, I think that's why in 2016, whenever Trump won the first time, that's why if you notice the repetition of him saying fake news, he repeated that so many times, and it was like he was trying to drill it in people's heads to like look, don't believe them, like stop it. It was almost like he was giving a signal because he repeated it so much because it's what they use to get in your head is repetition. So
but everybody saw that as a way of him attempting to cover up some dastardly deed he didn't actually do, right? So it's kind of a cutting sword. He's claiming that it's fake news because it's true and he doesn't want his person to be defamed or what have you, but in reality he is saying just that. It is fake news. I see it all. I don't even watch the news, and that's because anytime I'm even subjected to the news, I find that there's something fake, there's something not honest about the statistics or the numbers. They're playing on emotions and they're playing on not even so much logic, really. It's more statistics and emotions. And then that's credibility. And you've got a bunch of zombies walking around repeating whatever came out of channel 44 or what have you. I don't even know what channels there are anymore.
Oh, it's so bad. The repetition is so bad right now too. It's like, dude, I'm like, I will call them out too on Twitter. I'm like, can you stop repeating the same sentence? Like they'll retweet it like every other day, or they'll repost it the same exact sentence.
Well, because you have to drill it. You have to drill it in, right? You've got to say it 3 or more times in order for it to become like a standard or a solid in someone's mind. Well, here we show that
like I can point that out like plain as day. Like that's the first thing I'll pick out anywhere I go, so it's like plain as day to see. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
You can't unsee it. That's why I don't watch it. So we left off on this picture last week where we talked about being found in Marvin Margolis's box, where this picture of Elizabeth is drawn by Marty Merrill in 1992, coincidentally 1 year before he dies, and doesn't really look to me anything like Black Dahlia, but they claim that this shaded out area across the chest depicts the same type of injuries that Black Dahlia suffered, and that's why he's linking them together and he's the killer. But now we can show that clearly he died in 1993, certainly did not call Alex Baber in 2022 because he's dead. Okay, everybody's dead.
Yeah, so stupid.
Anyways, that took me into the diagram. So he put up what I could find in some of the information out there was this beam contraction focusing pulsator or some type of a diagram with a laser beam and all of this stuff going on. It seems, I don't know, I look at any of these and they kind of seem a little chaotic, but I do look at the different elements of this particular type of design where he doesn't even show the power source. He doesn't show jumpers. He doesn't show any of these things that we got to see in the bus bound diagram by the Zodiac that's found right here in the center. Here's another version, only this one's a little bit more rudimentary and really kind of just describing the skyline, the sun hitting the bus, that a car would not cause the blocking of the sun from the power source that would then cause the bomb to detonate in B. Now,
who did the drawing on the upper left?
That was Marvin Margolis. So this was also found in this box, if you will. But when you look at it, like there's nothing even comparable about it. I mean, even the way he shows the lines that are going through here, and I don't know if this was supposed to be an image to see inside, and not necessarily, it doesn't look to me like it's necessarily like a jumper line or something like that. But
electricity is what it looks like to me.
I don't know, because it's torn up even to the sides all the way out to the front. You would have thought if it was electricity, it would have connected somewhere to something, quite like these ones, right? So we see the jumpers, we see the lines coming in, and then the lines going out, and we see other jumpers, we see more jumpers over here. There's a whole lot going on in this particular schematic, and we get to see the sun being used as a source for the actual power in this particular thing. So we have a sun up here at the top, we have a sun down here. Now let's look at Jack's, because Dennis, I thought, did a really good representation of putting a side by side. This is the Zodiac right here. This is Jack's right here. Now, when I look at that, we've got the same type of circle that opens in the same place with this overlap that tips to the inside, overlap that goes to the inside. We've got the square jumpers that are being mentioned and shown here. We've got arrows, which we see, let's see. And when we look at all of Jack's, so all of these ones on the bottom are Jack's as well. And we can see these different types of jumpers that are happening here. So here's this particular jumper in Jack's diagram. Here's this same type of jumper, right? And it's indicating that it is surrounding a 6-volt battery. But one of the things that were noticed was the positioning of those lines, the top one being more to the left and just a little tiny bit to the right, bottom one being more dead center. Same thing up here with Jack's. We've got this one at the top that is barely to the right and off hanging to the left. And then the bottom one is more dead center. And then we have all of these little square jumper thingies that are going on here. We can see that those are clearly happening also inside of the Zodiac's handwriting. And then, of course, we see that in Jack's writing, we also have the sun as the power. So very, very interesting.
It looks like an MK Ultra experiment of that they used to make this guy copycat almost, but in a sense where he didn't even really know he was copycatting. You know what I'm saying?
No, I have no clue what that meant.
So it's mind control. It's like where they
but who's copying who? I'm saying Jack is Zodiac, that Jack's
what I'm
diagrams.
saying is, like, he may have known about this particular experiment as well, based on the program that he was in with the group that we know that is all,
But what do you mean experiment? I have no, I'm losing you on how any of that relates to, how that relates to the diagrams being drawn and written the same way.
I'm not saying that that's an experiment. I'm just giving an example. Like, if this was whatever this was, he obviously had some type of insight about whatever this contraption was, is what I'm saying, and the reasoning for him to possibly draw this or any
these
similarity.
are real. Who draw this? But first we've got to separate who you're talking. Who draw this? The Zodiac or Jack?
The man that he claims. What is his name? Marty.
We're not even looking at Marty. Marvin Margolis is gone. He's done. He had one
single
diagram.
That was the other one that was weird with the laser.
Yeah, that's not even on the screen right now.
Well, and these diagrams from Zodiac, they were in regard to the bus bomb, right? The alleged planted bomb.
Okay.
And one of the ciphers basically says this is where you can find it. And we kind of trace that to Green Valley Road near Fairfield.
Okay.
Yeah, actually, back in the day, yeah, we did. And I went and looked at it. And certainly by the time we had figured this information out, and Harriet and I went to look at it, it turned out that they had broken the on-ramp completely down, rebuilt an overpass, and piled all the cement and debris that was once the road to get back onto 80 had then been piled in a great big huge mountain next to the new right under the new overpass. So we couldn't even get in or onto that particular piece of land because it was now covered by construction debris and road stuff and cement and all kinds of things. But so my point here is just literally that the things that we see, like these heavy black dots that are indicating, I'm thinking, areas of connectivity. We see them in many of Jack's drawings, but you also see them in the Zodiacs. So look here where that connection is made by these very heavy dark circles. So there's just a
area by Green Valley Road and by Fairfield, that's nearby is what they call Cordelia Junction. And that's because so many different roads are converging, like 680 to 80. Then just prior to that, you got Highway 12 going up to Napa, and there's a lot of junctions, so we say. You know,
and I also found directly out, if you went out Browns Valley Road, I think it was, or right there off of Green Valley, and you went to the right, there was also a national forest. So I stumbled onto that. And we know that he was also staying at one of the, I think one of the solves or the cipher solves that came up was a kind of a park or a state area in Vallejo or Vacaville. We'd have to go back, but I don't want to relive all of that stuff right this minute. But it was definitely taking us to locations where Jack could park his bus, because if everybody remembers correctly, during this time frame, Jack was living on a bus. And I believe that bus came from his brother-in-law and his sister, who owned a bus that they had created into a gambling bus and then hijacked a bunch of people after getting them on the bus, coworkers and so forth, and taking them up the hill to gamble. Then his brother shows up to rob the bus, but then gets beaten up and arrested. There's a whole news article on it. So we know for sure Jack is in this remade bus. And of course, and this is how I assumed that the Zodiac writing about a bus bomb, he was the bomb. He's the information bomb on the bus. So he's got them chasing around a school bus, but not realizing that he is currently at that moment living on a converted school bus.
Wow.
Yeah. That's good.
So I had somebody also look at this solve by Baber in regards to the what he claims to have been the cipher solve. And the response from that individual was a 4 pi wave function. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I understand any of this. The Zodiac symbol is also trig, 4 pi 90-degree angles. I call BS on their solve. So this person's calling out the solve of Margolis, and I'm sorry, Baber has for Margolis. But I just thought I'd throw up here, we definitely know that math and pi and angles and all of those things are right in Jack's alley, because we have it in his handwriting right here.
Yep.
And that brings us to cryptography, the science of secret writing. I was explaining to Nolan and Juan earlier before the show that I had purchased a bunch of material from a former document examiner, and I received this nifty little packet here, which is Cryptography, the Science of Secret Writing by Jack H. Schultz. He's a question document examiner that has obviously worked extensively and put together a program. And I believe that he was either teaching this program or he was a guest speaker of some sort at the University of Chicago, Illinois, no less.
Wow.
And with that, I put up the ciphers from John Walsh, and I'm going to show you why, because we had some extremely interesting, darn it, I thought we would make it to this. We're down to our last minute. I'm going to do an introduction of what he finds in regards to cryptology in general, and then we're going to look at some of the systems and how they compare to what we see the Zodiac and the Scorpion author do. And that we will obviously hold off for until next week. So is there anything either of you would like to add?
So I was just gonna say, did you guys know that Baber was actually in recent news?
No.
Well, yeah, in December 2025,
No,
right?
in this month too, the 26th, there was a news
What?
article.
What?
About
Share.
I'll have to
what
send
is
it
that?
about a documentary. So.
Okay.
Of course.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They get mad media. And this is all following the same line as Bart Baggett. He was looking at a false suspect, looking to write a book and do a documentary, and unfortunately I blew that up, and evidently I suffered the price as one of his students for that by almost having my business demised out from underneath of me. But that's not going to stop me from telling the truth, because if I'm meant to find another career because of that, or because they are capable of messing with the algorithm on the internet, or false advertising with lower fees in my area to try and cut me off from getting jobs. Yeah, I'm prepared for that, I suppose. I'm too deep in this at this point. I mean, there's just no walking away. So,
girl.
All right, guys, our final seconds. I want to thank you both for being here. When we come back next week, we're going to look at system solves for cryptography and for ciphers and deciphering. So thank you for being here once again. Everybody have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.
Okay.
Have a good weekend.
You too. Bye, everybody.